accidental revenge, and I'm petty enough to laugh. I never thought I'd be the kind of person who would smile at someone else's downfall, but here we are. This story starts with my sister-in-law, a woman who, over the last 2 years, has completely gone feral. She turned on my husband first, then on her other brother, and eventually on her own mother. What she managed to do is honestly impressive in the worst way possible. She destroyed 4 generations of this family's ability to sit in the same room together. 4 generations gone. She instructed her 4 adult children very clearly. No contact with the rest of the family. No calls.
No visits.
Not even with their own cousins. And the worst part, she cut off contact with their 84-year-old grandmother, an elderly woman who did absolutely nothing to deserve that. The last 2 years have been brutal, emotionally exhausting, and completely unnecessary. We've tried to understand why this happened. Some of us suspect it's about money. Others wonder if there's something medically wrong, because this behavior feels so extreme, so out of character. That brain tumor has honestly been mentioned more than once. Now, my mother-in-law is not perfect. She has her flaws like any human being, but at her core, she's a very sweet woman. She loves her family, and despite everything, she wants to be fair. Recently, she made a decision. She chose to give each family a lump sum of money to be divided among the members of that household. She didn't just talk about it. She actually sat down, did the math,
And wrote the checks.
Here's where things get interesting. My husband and I have 1 child, just 1 son. So our family unit is small. Only 3 people total. My brother-in-law has 3 kids and 1 grandchild. And then there's my sister-in-law, the same one who burned every bridge imaginable. She has 4 adult children, 3 grandchildren, and spouses added into the mix. When everything is divided up, the total split is between 11 people. And because of how the numbers fall, my husband, my son, and I end up receiving nearly 3 times more than she does. I won't lie. I wish I could be there for the moment she realizes it. The exact second she does the math herself and understands that the brother and the sister-in-law she's stabbed in the back walked away with far more than she ever will. And yes, I feel petty admitting this, but I laughed. Especially because she has always believed that blood family matters most. And somehow, that belief ended up working against her. Sometimes, karma doesn't arrive screaming. Sometimes, it shows up quietly in the form of a check and a calculator. About 3 years ago, I was working at a large factory, the kind of place that never really feels stable. They hired workers through 5 different temp agencies. So the workforce was constantly changing. People came and people disappeared, sometimes without notice. Some days, you couldn't even recognize the faces around you anymore. That's when my lunches started going missing. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe I misplaced it. Maybe someone grabbed the wrong container by accident. But after a week, 6 straight 12-hour shifts, with no lunch at all, it became clear. Someone was stealing my food. In a place like that, everyone became a suspect.
No familiar faces. No accountability.
Just frustration building day after day. By the end of the week, I was exhausted, hungry, and honestly angry. I won't lie, my mind went to some dark places. I imagined elaborate ways to catch the thief, or teach them a lesson. And then, I had an idea. I didn't want confrontation. I didn't want a fight. I just wanted it to stop. So I decided to send a message. A silent one. That night, I cooked what I believed would be the ultimate deterrent. Steak fajitas. Fresh, flavorful. The kind of lunch that looks too good to resist. And then, I added something extra. A Carolina Reaper pepper. One of the hottest peppers in the world. Minced down into a fresh pico de gallo. I told myself, whoever takes it will learn quickly. And never touch another lunch again. I packed everything carefully. The steak, the peppers, fresh cilantro, lime wedges. I sealed it in a clear container, almost like a display case. proud of how good it looked. The next morning, I placed it in the fridge and went back to work. About an hour later, everything changed. I heard screaming, panicked shouting, someone yelling for help. I ran toward the lunchroom, and that's when I saw it. The lunchbox bandit, lying on the floor, gasping for air, unable to breathe properly. The peppers had triggered a severe asthma attack. Medical staff were called immediately, and the person was rushed to the hospital. In that moment, my anger vanished. All I felt was shock and fear and a deep sinking realization. This was never what I intended. No one confronted me. No questions were asked. No accusations were made. And I said nothing. The lunches stopped going missing after that, but the satisfaction I expected never came. Instead, I was left with the understanding that small acts of revenge can spiral into consequences you never imagined. I never told anyone this story, until now. Many years ago, I was working the 3 to 11 evening shift at my hospital. That night, the weather was bad. A heavy snow and ice storm had already started, and it was getting worse by the minute. Just before my shift ended, I was down in the ER and casually asked a few law enforcement officers if the roads were getting dangerous. They looked at me and said yes, very bad. They told me to take the highway because it was the only road being actively plowed and treated. About 30 minutes later, I carefully started my drive home. I eased my way up the on-ramp to the highway, barely going any speed at all. I made it maybe 50 feet, and then suddenly ice. The truck slid out of control and slammed straight into the guardrail. When everything stopped, I realized I was sitting in the southbound emergency lane, but facing north. My truck pinned against the rail. I tried to start the engine. Nothing. I sat there thinking, an officer will come by soon. Someone will help. Cars passed me, one then another. No one stopped. Finally, I made a decision. I got out of the truck and carefully walked down a 3-story embankment to the city street below. As I started walking back toward the hospital, one of our security guards spotted me and picked me up. He drove me back inside. Once I was safe, I called the non-emergency police number. This was before cell phones, and reported the accident. The woman on the phone told me I should have stayed with my vehicle. I told her the truth. It was 20 degrees, the truck wouldn't start, and I would have frozen. She said, okay, and told me they would call when an officer was dispatched. I found a friend to take me home and waited. No call ever came. Later, I asked a friend who worked for a wrecker service to go pick up my truck. But when he got there, it was gone. I called the non-emergency number again. That's when they told me a state trooper had the truck towed as a hit and run, and there was now a warrant for leaving the scene of an accident. I asked if they could see my original call reporting the wreck. She said yes, but there had been over 220 accidents that night, and my call was lost in the chaos. I asked how I could get my truck released. She told me I would need to contact the trooper and complete an accident report. Finally, some progress. She gave me his name and contact information. I called immediately. It was his precinct. They told me he was off duty, but they would leave him a message. At that point, I was a single mom working evening shifts with one vehicle. Thankfully, I was off for a couple of days. I kept calling because I needed my truck out of impound and into a repair shop. By the 3rd day, I asked to speak to a supervisor. The supervisor told me the trooper was on vacation, and only he could take the report. Even the supervisor couldn't do it. I knew it was nonsense, but I had no choice. Luckily, my uncle had several cars and loaned me one until this mess could be fixed. The following week, I finally received a call. Master Trooper Jerk. He said he could come to my house and complete the report. I agreed immediately. He arrived about 20 minutes later. It was my day off before 4 long shifts, so I had spent the entire morning cleaning. My house was spotless, not the usual lived-in, toys everywhere look. He stepped inside and was clearly surprised by how neat everything was. I suggested we sit at the kitchen table so he could write the report. What I didn't notice at the time was that he placed his hat on the chair next to him. We finished the paperwork, and then he asked why I hadn't stayed with my truck. I told him again. I would have frozen. The accident happened around 11:45 p.m. He had the truck towed at 6:45 a.m. Then he paused and said he could now see my original call in the system. He apologized, admitted his supervisor could have handled everything sooner, but now it was done. I was furious because I already knew that. He left shortly after. And then
I saw it.
his hat, still sitting on my chair. I just stared at it and thought, what now? I was still irritated, and I wanted just a little revenge. So I picked up the phone and called the non-emergency number again. In my sexiest, softest, Marilyn Monroe-style whisper, I said, Master Trooper Jerk was just here at my house. He was taking a report, and, well, he accidentally left part of his uniform behind when he left. The revenge was so sweet. When he came back to retrieve it, his face was 10 shades of red. I only wish I could have heard that call go out over the radio. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you for listening. If stories like this, real moments, real mistakes, and unexpected consequences are your kind of thing, take a second to like this video. It really helps the channel more than you think. And if you enjoy true stories, life lessons, and quiet karma moments like this one, go ahead and subscribe. More real stories are on the way, and you won't want to miss the next one.